Hello. Welcome to the Empowered Podcast. Welcome to a tea time. It's been quite a while since I've done a tea time, and I'm so excited to be here with you for it. I have my cup of tea. I have my white fluffy robe. So if you're with me on YouTube, hey, it's lovely to see you. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I've just done my morning routine. This actually is not a cup of tea. I lied. It's a cup of coffee. This is a new COVID thing for me since we were in lockdown and quarantine. I hadn't drank coffee in 3 years, and suddenly I kind of like it again. So, anyways, I'm having a cup of coffee. I'm sitting here reflecting on my morning, my day, my thoughts, my feelings, and what wants to be shared with you this morning. Miss Dixie Green, my puppy dog, is behind me. You can't see, but behind me is a big mess of my crystals, my essential oils, my journal, all of my meditation props, all the things are right behind me. So, I'm bringing all of that energy into this conversation with you this morning. It is the beginning of August 2020. Oh my goodness, I can't even believe it's August. This year, this year's been a bit intense, yeah? Would you agree? If you spend any time on TikTok, I'm sure you've seen some of those quite funny videos where every single month the person shows up as that month and just shows how that month has just kicked us in the butt. And there's just been a lot occurring this year and a lot of very challenging situations happening on a global scale, which, to be honest, happens all the time. Every year we have these challenges, but I think the thing that's so different now is because it's such a global experience of, dealing with COVID-19 and having a global pandemic and having massive changes occurring within the racial experience and racism in the world. We're starting to wake up and realize this is actually affecting every single one of us. And I think that sometimes, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, but those of us who live in North America can tend to tune out what might be happening in other parts of the world. And not because I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying it's something that we kind of tend to do. And I think what's happening this year is we're all realizing how connected we are, how interconnected we are. And knowing that what happens to one of us happens to all of us in some way, even if it's just energetic, even if it's just through a dream, or even if it's through a completely different experience, but the emotion or the feeling is the same. That's really what I've been picking up on for this year. So coming into this month of August, I was asking myself, what is the theme that is right? What is the theme that wants to come forward, that wants to be discussed? What is it that you want to receive? What's going to impact your life mostly? And the one that came through is leadership. Leadership. Just take a moment to receive that word. Leadership. When I looked up the word leadership, because I love doing that, I love going to Google and just looking up what is the basic definition of a word. It was really just about leading a group or a community, just someone who is influencing them, controlling them, or in charge of that group. And what I want to talk about today, we're going to talk about leadership all throughout this month. So you've got plenty of episodes coming that are going to support you to understand what leadership means to you more deeply and how it relates to you being an empowered woman as well. But what I want to talk about today is leadership of self for all. Leadership of yourself to be of service to all. And this is something that I talk about from many different angles because I really believe that this is one of the greatest gifts that I received from my mom's passing when I was 19, is realizing that life is not meant to be where we give all of our energy to everybody else in the world. We are meant to serve ourselves. And from that service of self, we are serving others because it's our natural tendency to be able to serve and support. And I think we've really got it backwards over the last however many decades or centuries, in that we believe that we're supposed to give everything that we have, and in doing so, we will receive something back at some point. But that's not happening. So many people are exhausted. So many people have different diseases. So many people are not happy in their lives. They are turning to alcohol and drugs and other numbing out techniques and avoidance techniques to keep themselves functioning and not having to deal with the emotions that they have that they're not happy. And when I talk about leadership of self, it really ultimately means self-discipline, personal responsibility, really making your own choices matter. And it just feels really, really important to me because if you're a woman who wants to see a brighter future for her children or your nieces and nephews or just other people in your family, in your community, in the world, if you want to see beautiful change in this world, it has to start with you. It doesn't you can't pour all of your energy out and then get confused as to why things aren't changing. You have to change your internal landscape before anything outside of you can shift because you create your reality. You create your reality based on your perceptions, based on your beliefs, based on your thoughts, based on your emotions towards experiences and situations. You create your reality. Even right now, there's hundreds of you listening to this podcast or watching this video. However, every single one of you are receiving something different. You're all having different thoughts right now as to what this means or how you're receiving it or where you can relate this to someone in your life or whether or not you just listened to another podcast that had to do with leadership. We filter everything through our brain so that we can try to understand our place within it, which is a great tool. But just know that this means that every one of our experiences is different. We create our own reality. And when it comes to leadership of self for all, what I truly believe we need to be doing is spending the time and the energy and the focus on figuring out who we are. Because if we know who we are, it's so much easier to be in flow with who we are. And then it's so much easier to give of ourselves to others and give from a place where we're already full. What I'm finding is so many people are giving from a place of feeling deflated or empty. And then it's exhausting. And then it almost becomes almost like a bit cynical, like, well, I gave you so much and I give to everybody. And I organized that event for the family and I brought all the food or I did all the cooking or however. I mean, it's summer right now here, so I'm thinking about families getting together. I'm sure a lot of you have had those thoughts where you go into your ego and you don't even notice that you're there, but suddenly it's like everybody else owes you something. And the reason that happens, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, it's uncomfortable, but the reason that happens is because you do not have this leadership of self, because you believe that your value is placed in or is figured out by, measured by, there we go. It's measured by how much you give to others. But if you notice when you start feeling that sense of like, oh, like I don't want to do that anymore. How come they never do this for me? No one ever supports me. And suddenly you're feeling really defeated by it. It's because it's not fulfilling for you. It's because you're giving and giving and giving. And why would someone give back to you if every time they try, you shut them down? Or every time they want to, you just say, no, no, it's fine. I got this. And then under your breath, you say, why can't anyone help me? Right? Like I know there's a few of you that are doing this and I know you can relate to it. So I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Leadership of self for all. And I'm going to keep talking about this for years, you guys. When you pick up my book, The Feminine Warrior, this fall, which actually we might be going to pre-sale in September. So there's a potential that you'll be able to be one of the first ones to get the book. But when you get that book this fall, and you start reading through it, you'll see that I talk about this concept there as well, because this is very important for us to all start to understand so we can shift this mentality in society that if I'm feeling fulfilled and whole and you're feeling fulfilled and whole and Sarah's feeling fulfilled and whole, it's much easier for all of us to support each other and to support the children, the next generation, to support the earth, to support everything around us when we feel fulfilled and whole, as opposed to what we've been trying to do. So when we look at leadership of self for all, I really want you to understand this means balance. It doesn't mean doing anything right. It doesn't mean doing anything perfectly. It doesn't mean being so disciplined that you have it's all structured, no fun. It's about balance. And when I say balance, what I really mean by that, it's balancing your yin and your yang energy. It's balancing your feminine and your masculine energy. It's balancing your beingness and your doing, your taking actionness. It's really about balancing you receiving from others and balancing you giving to others. And these are all designed to work together. right? They're designed to support each other and to work like one unit. Just like you are a whole, these are just two components of the whole. And sometimes you're going to do more, you're going to have more doing and action while maybe a little bit less being. And then other times you're going to have far less doing or action and far more being. And I don't know about you, but for me in the summer, I really noticed that I come far, far deeper into my feminine, into my beingness, into my yin. I can just sit for hours and read a book and relax in the sun. It doesn't even cross my mind that I should be doing more. And then I find that in the winter, when it's colder outside, for whatever reason, things start to shift and I come further into my masculine energy and I'm ready to do more. And when I'm sitting and reading, I do spend some time doing that as well. However, there's a little bit more of that voice in the back of my head saying, well, maybe you should get a little bit of action done today. So I find it really interesting to notice those shifts and changes in going with the seasons and what's flowing in nature. But for you, I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, where do you feel out of balance right now? When you think about leadership of self, personal responsibility, self discipline, where are you out of alignment? Where are you out of balance? Take a moment, take a breath, and ask yourself where. Hmm. Hopefully something comes through for you. If it doesn't, you can always pause this, take a few extra moments, maybe journal it out a little bit and find where you feel out of balance because this is really crucial. If you can pinpoint or at least get a general idea of where you're feeling out of balance, and we always know, we just have to become quiet to hear it. This is where you really want to start bringing in your awareness and this leadership of self. This is where you want to start creating new habits, making new choices, trying new things to find a way that feels really good for you. Something that I've been doing recently is I journal out. This is super fun. I really think you should try this. I journal out what my ideal reality would be, knowing that we create our own reality. And it doesn't necessarily like happen like that, where you say, I want my reality to be this, and then it becomes that. However, over time, when you keep embodying into the energy of that reality that you desire, when you start living as though it already is, that's how you begin to manifest it. That's how it suddenly just shows up one day and you realize, this is that ideal reality I wrote about in my journal 2 years ago. Oh my God, this is amazing. So recently I've been writing in my journal, what is my ideal reality? I look at all aspects of my life. I look at my interactions with my clients and how connected we feel. I look at how my clients come to me, how easeful it is for them to just show up in my inbox or email and we end up having a call and they become a client. I look at my relationship with my husband. I look at my connection to nature, how much time I spend outside. I look at my body, how my body is feeling, if it's feeling strong and resilient and flexible and open and expansive. I look at the foods I'm eating, my morning routines, how much time I'm spending with people that I love. I look at everything. And at the beginning of this journaling, I always write down something along the lines of, I know that what I write here is true. I know that as I write these words, this reality is already true. And I do that because it's accurate. We live in, I mean, we have so many different dimensions of self, and I truly believe that there are different aspects of us that are already fully manifested in the energetic world that we can't tangibly touch or see yet. And it's just about bringing that into this world where we are now. But that's a whole other conversation. But really, ultimately, when you allow yourself to believe it to already be true, it's just a matter of you opening up to allowing that to be your reality. So when I write that down, knowing that the words that I write, I'm writing my story. Just like right now, I'm writing my book. Actually, I'm going through the edits of writing the book. And you guys, The Feminine Warrior, out this fall, you are going to want to have a copy. It's real good. As I'm writing that book, it's the same thing when I'm journaling about my ideal reality. I'm writing my story. And the more you write it, the more you read it, the more you feel it, it simply becomes. There's no other option. That is the law of attraction. That is how energy works. That is how this world works. Where our energy is directed, what we're focused on is what we attract more of. So when we write or talk about everything that's bringing us down constantly, all the time. All we're doing is complaining. All we're doing is feeling like things are too hard, or I can't make that happen. Or I keep trying to have a morning routine and I'm not sticking to it. I can't do this. I can't do that. I keep gaining weight. I'm super lethargic and exhausted. When we think about that, talk about that, write about that constantly, we get more of it, right? When you break it down like that, it's simple. It makes sense. Why wouldn't you have more of that? Because we're really good at manifesting the reality that our subconscious wants us to have. The thing is, we really just need to pay attention to what we're consciously thinking about. So anyways, I don't know where I was going with that. Gotta love a good tea time, hey? My brain's still just waking up. Coming into balance. We were talking about coming into balance. When you start paying attention to where you're out of alignment or out of balance, it's really about then asking yourself, well, what's the opposite? How would I like to feel? What would it feel like if I were in balance in that area of my life? What would it feel like or look like or be like if that were already true? And this is how you start getting into that version of you in a different time or dimension that already has that manifested, that already is living that reality. So when you took that moment and asked yourself where you're feeling out of balance or out of alignment, I want you to do that. Maybe you do it right now. Maybe you pause this and journal it out. Maybe you do it later tonight before bed. What would it feel like for you to be in balance in that area of your life? And once you start feeling into that energy and what it would be like and feel like and look like for you, then, so this is the beingness, this is the feminine energy, this is the creation part, the dancing with life, the dynamic evolution and change. Then, once you're clear on that, you create your action steps. How am I going to do that? What's that going to look like? What do I want to do every day to connect into that energy? And I was actually talking to a client yesterday about this, and I really want you guys to hear this because this is super important. Every action that you take isn't the focal point of what creates your reality. Every action that you take is not the focal point of what creates your reality. It's not, if you're a business owner and you have an online business, it's not that post you put on Facebook that grows your business. It's not the email list that you have that grows your business. It's not the strategy behind your launches that grows your business. Yes, it's a component, but it's not the focal point. And if you're not a business owner and you're thinking about, say you're thinking about your health, it isn't the food that you eat. Excuse me. It isn't the food that you eat that allows you to be healthy. It's not the food that you eat. It's not the water that you drink. It's the beingness, the intention, and the energy behind it that allows you to feel good, that allows you to live a life that lifts you up, that allows you to grow your business, that allows you to be healthy in your body. Sometimes when people hear this for the first time, they're like, that doesn't even make sense, because we're looking at it from a very grounded human linear perspective, scientific perspective. Of course, science can prove, yes, it's the food and water that you eat and drink that constitutes what your body is made of. However, that's not giving any credit to our emotions and to the energy of our thoughts and to the energy of the belief systems that live within our body. And those dictate everything in our life. They have far more strength and power in creating our reality than the actual actions that we take. And a really brief example of this, I have a podcast from an episode, I think 2 years ago, maybe, that I shared about this. I'll see if I don't remember what the name of it was, but basically years ago, I had a very bizarre situation occur. I guess you could call it a falling out with someone who had been my absolute best friend for years, someone who I saw as my rock and someone that would be in my life in a very major way for all of eternity. I didn't ever foresee a time when we would not be close. And we went through a situation where we had a falling out, and I felt very, very hurt by some of the things that she said to me and the interactions that we had. And this was probably 5 years ago, and I was still learning. I hadn't fully embodied into emotional resiliency. I didn't have the same teachings and principles and support in my life that I have now. And what happened was, from this falling out, from this situation and me not dealing with it, my body became so broken. I was teaching fitness class in this community that I live in, but I had to drive a half hour to get there because it was on the other side of town. I would teach in the morning. I think we started at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. I would get up, wake up, have a smoothie, which was I would have every day, totally fine. And about 3 out of 5 days of the week, I would pull over on the side of the road and vomit on my way to go teach fitness class for no reason that any doctor could find. I was like this. I had this agonizing pain in my abdomen every single day. It was so painful. I went to multiple different doctors. No one knew what was wrong with me. I ended up getting a scope down my throat because they were worried that I had an ulcer and they wanted to check that out. Afterwards, the doctor who put the scope down said, "You're absolutely fine physically. You need to go to yoga." And I remember thinking, but I do. What am I doing wrong? And anyways, what happened was this was about 6 weeks of all that pain, maybe even a little bit more. And then finally her and I had a hash out situation on the phone, and I yelled at her, which is not common for me. I cried my eyes out, which is common for me, and really just expressed all the emotion that had been held inside. As soon as that happened, about a week, I think it was about a week later, every ounce of pain I had in my body disappeared. Gone. Bye. Just gone. Now, I am a very sensitive person, so you may not have experiences that are as extreme as that. I'm aware of this now, that my body is very, very sensitive, and I'm grateful for it because it teaches me these incredible lessons that then I get to share with you. But this comes back to my point that it's not your actions that you're taking that's dictating your reality. It's the energy, the emotion, the thought, the intention behind them. So even though I was teaching fitness class, I was a healthy person, I was eating really well, I was nourishing my body, I wasn't dealing with my emotions. And that allowed my physical body to start to break down. It's about what's occurring behind the action you're taking. And this is really what comes down to. This is the way that I view balancing your masculine and feminine energy. So many of us spend our entire lives focused in our masculine energy because that's what society asks of us. Society wants us to work hard. Society wants us to pour our life into everything that we do. Society doesn't want us to lay back and relax and sit in the sun and read books. Society wants us to be doing, to be making, to be earning more money, to be buying more things, to be making an impact. And when we do that, we're not balanced in our masculine and feminine. The feminine is the being. The feminine is the dancing. The feminine is the dynamic evolution. The masculine is the structure and the focus. When we balance the two, we allow the feminine energy to guide us to what is true for us. This is our intuition. This is our soul speaking to us. When we feel that guidance, when we feel, yes, this is where I want to take action, that action that we take in our masculine energy has a far greater impact on our reality, on this world, than anything else. I've seen a lot of business coaches and business owners over the years who do a lot. And they say in order to get anywhere on Instagram, you have to post, 2 or 3 times a day. You have to have this many hashtags. You have to have this many comments. And while all of that is a strategy and it makes sense, I can understand why they are teaching that. I think what needs to be happening right now is more of us need to be learning and embodying into the balance between our feminine and masculine, the balance with our yin and our yang, and then implement the strategies. Because a strategy doesn't work if your energy is not behind it. Trust me, I've tried. The strategy is only useful when you get your energy in balance. So when it comes to leadership of self, for all, leadership of self for all, this is about you taking personal responsibility for your energy, for your emotions, for your experience of life, for your reality. Because if you're constantly feeling broken, needing more, unhappy, unfulfilled, unmotivated, if you're living in that energy, it's impacting others. Every action that you take, every choice that you make has that energy attached to it without you even realizing it. I want you not to see this as, oh no, what have I been doing? But see it as an opportunity. What if you could take less action and have a greater impact in your life? What if you could go to work and not want to punch your coworker in the face? What if you spending just even a little bit more time focusing on you through the lens of, I want to find my joy. I want to find my happiness. I want to find what fills me up, knowing that in doing so, you're going to serve everybody else around you. What if that was your focus? What if for this month of August, that's what you did? Can you even imagine how that would feel? Of course, you'll have resistance. Of course, you'll have fear. Of course, you'll want to give up. That's okay. You're human. It's about balancing everything. You are a whole being. You're not meant to be perfect. You're not meant to make one commitment to yourself and then never fall down again. That's not how it works. Trust me, I've fallen down a lot. And then you get back up. And then you come somewhere like here, like to the Empowered Podcast. You come into the Empowered Woman Collective on Facebook and you talk about it. You hire someone like myself as your coach to support you so that when you're having one of those falling down moments, you have support. You allow yourself to receive love, to receive guidance, to receive support. You allow yourself to have personal responsibility, to care about yourself, to have leadership of self. And this is what creates change in the world. If every single one of you right now that are listening to and watching this podcast, if all of you and myself together made a pact that this month we're going to focus on us, we're going to focus on our own individual desires, our fears, our worries, our joys, our excitements, our sadness. If we were willing to spend even just a few more hours a week focusing there, what do you think could happen? What do you think the world would start to look like, at least within your own community, your own household and family, if that actually mattered, if you actually mattered? Think about it. Because I believe that you do. I don't know if you do or not. I hope you do, but I don't know if you do. But I believe in you because I've been there. And I go there still. I go there in moments thinking, why aren't I further ahead? Why haven't I figured this out? Why am I still dealing with this? Why is this still an issue in my life? Why do I still wake up with this feeling? Why have I not figured this part out yet? Why don't I trust myself fully? Why don't I follow my intuition? Why did I say yes to that thing? It still happens, of course. It's a part of being human. But when we were talking about balancing all of our energies, balancing the yin and the yang, that balancing is also about accepting all of you, accepting the fear, accepting the sadness, accepting the pain, accepting the past trauma. Okay, I have one more thing to share with you. It's a bit vulnerable, but it feels important. The other day, it was so weird. I started crying and like sobbing, like deep, heavy sob. And I was letting myself cry, holding myself on the floor, just letting it all come out because that's what I do. And I started kind of inquiring internally, what am I crying about? What is this for? And I felt this longing for a part of who I was years ago, like 15 years ago. I felt this longing for this time in my life when it's funny because I wouldn't say that I was happy, but my life looked very different. And it was like I was grieving that was gone, grieving that part of me that was gone. I would have been, I guess, like late teens, I suppose, at that point, or early 20s. And I remember thinking, why am I crying about this? I'm so much happier now. I'm so much wiser now. Have so much more now. But instead of judging myself for it, I let it be there. I let myself have the tears. I let myself grieve. I had no idea why it was coming up. There was nothing that I could see that had triggered it, but it was present and it was there. And I allowed myself to have that space. I accepted that I was grieving something from the past. Even if I couldn't logically understand why, the emotion was there. And I needed to start letting it go. And I did. And it took a little bit of time, and I went for a walk afterwards, and I kind of had a bit of a somber evening after that. But this is what I mean about balancing as well and accepting all of you. It's not just about being happy, you guys. It's not just about finding your joy and manifesting millions of dollars and all of these things. It's about being whole. It's about believing that you are worthy in your depths of despair and when you're dancing on a hillside. It's about believing that you are worthy always, no matter what is occurring, no matter how you are feeling, that you are an incredible, amazing, empowered woman who is doing what she can as she knows how to live her best life. My kitty cat is meowing. I suppose it's time for him to go outside for his morning play. I would love absolutely love to know your thoughts on this perspective of leadership of self for all. I'd really love it if you would send me a Facebook message, an Instagram message, or an email, and just let me know, what did you receive from this? I've gotten quite a few messages recently of a few of you who have found the podcast and have been like just binge listening, which I love. I think that's incredible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I so appreciate it. It honestly just makes my heart so happy to know that this content is still of service. And I know that it will be for a long time, because these are principles of life. And I'm grateful that my voice, that who I am, that my personality can be of service to you. And I will continue to do the work within myself to continue to show up and support you to do the work within yourself, because I believe that's why we're here. That's what it's all about. And if we haven't had the opportunity to truly connect, if you would like to explore some more about intuitive life coaching, or if you're in your business and you really resonated with what I shared previously about, it's not the strategy that's going to move you forward. It's really about coming into the balance of masculine and feminine. It's about coming into the beingness and then allowing your actions to extend from there. If you want to consider some coaching together and explore what that could look like for you and for your business, go ahead and check out my website, deannadeacon.com, or just send me a message and let me know that you're curious about it, because there's some really powerful shifts that can occur and that need to occur, especially in the online world. The online spiritual world can be really devastating, because a lot of people take their addictive personalities from everything else in life and just plunk it into this online spiritual entrepreneurial space. So you still have the same addictions, you're just fulfilling it in a different way. And I want to help shift that. I want to be a part of that, the catalyst for that change, because it's not working. I've seen so many women start their business, get lots of money, get lots of clients, and then they fall off the face of the earth, basically, well, in the online world, because it's not sustainable. I'm tired of seeing that. Okay, Stuart, I'll let you out in just a second. I'm finishing the podcast. Okay, I gotta go. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with me. Thanks for joining me for a lovely tea time / coffee time. I'm gonna go play outside now. Mwah.